Today I'm going to show you the basics of animation, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll be able to learn the 7 most essential concepts that can help you create your own animations. Who knows, maybe in the future you'll thank me for helping you get a job in MAPA.
What did he say?
Anyway, what is animation? Imagine looking at this image right here, and at every fraction of a second, the image slightly changes, creating an illusion that the image is moving. That is basically what animation is all about, especially 2D animation. You're just seeing a bunch of slightly different images played through time to create the illusion of movement. You might have heard the different frame rates like 24 FPS, 30 FPS, or even 60 FPS. But for this video, we will be focusing on 24 frames per second, because this is the most common frame rate used in 2D animation. 24 frames per second basically means that you will be able to see 24 images in a span of a second. So to better illustrate this, we can have this character move from this point to this point. So basically, I'm just moving this character slightly at every frame 24 times until he reaches this point. So if we play this animation, you'll be able to see that he is moving. This is what it looks like to animate in once. You have a different image at every frame, but you don't really need a different image or drawing at every frame. Here, we are moving him every 2 frames, which will result in 12 different drawings until he reaches this point. This is basically what it looks like to animate in 2s. And to even push this point, we can even move him every 3 frames, which will result in just 8 drawings, essentially animating in 3s. This is the first concept I want to introduce, which is timing and spacing. Timing is basically how long each of these drawings are exposed in the timeline, whether it's every frame, every 2 frames, or every 3 frames. And then spacing is the distance between 2 drawings, which is the line indicated by a tick mark you see right here. Timing and spacing is basically the foundation by which you are going to build your animations on. But one of the coolest things that it affects is speed, which is the second concept we are going to discuss. Speed is all about how fast or slow your animations are. If we use this animation in 2s as our baseline, we can see that this character will take 1 second to reach his destination. Now, if we simply adjust the exposure of each drawing from 2 frames to 1 frame, then we can now see this character can reach his destination in half a second, which is a lot faster. Adjusting the exposure to 3s would also result in the character reaching his destination a bit longer than the other 2. So one of the ways to control speed is to simply adjust the exposure of your drawings in the timeline, which is your timing. Another way to control speed is through spacing. Simply put, if we have a lot of drawings closer together with each other, they would appear a bit slower. And if we have drawings that are farther away from each other, they would appear faster. Controlling the speed of your animation with spacing is something we will be using to level up the simple animation we've been working on. By the way, you can find a copy of this Clip Studio file I used for this video down in the description below. This file contains all the concepts and demos presented in this video, so check it out. Okay, right now we have an animation with a spacing that is constant between each drawing. But this animation is kind of boring. So what if we put some of these drawings on each end closer to one another and farther in the middle, meaning they essentially go slower at the beginning and end while faster in the middle. Now, this animation is a bit more natural. And this is the third concept of acceleration and deceleration, or in other books, ease in and ease out. We naturally ease into an action or out of an action, which makes our movements more fluid and natural. So we can now compare this animation to the first, and we can really tell the difference. The first one is more static and boring, but with the application of ease in and ease out, we made the animation or movement more natural. Now what if we take the middle frame and stretch him a bit and take the 2 frames at the end and squeeze them a bit too. This animation now looks a little bit more lively and the character looks more soft. And this is the effect of adding squash and stretch to your animation. If we compare it to the previous animation without the squash and stretch, we can even feel that this animation is a bit faster, even though we didn't change the timing or spacing of the drawings. The bottom guy also looks more rigid with hard properties, whereas the top one looks more fluid with soft characteristics. Now we have these 3 animations, each building up from the previous one, but we can still make it look better. What if we modify the spacing and instead of going forward right away at the beginning, we actually back up a bit, a couple of drawings, before we launch forward and at the end. This is the concept of anticipation. In most actions, we often do a pose before the actual action to prepare for it. But what if we go further and add a drawing of him kinda going over his intended destination before settling down to it? This drawing is called an overshoot pose or follow through. Simply put, when we do an action, there are certain parts of our body that continue to move a bit before it settles down even though the action is completed. Now, if we bring back our previous animations, we can see the difference from this, where we started with a very boring animation. Then by controlling the speed using spacing and applying ease in and ease out, we have a more natural animation. Then we further added squash and stretch that made the character look more fluid, which makes more sense since he is supposed to be an egg yolk. Then we added some anticipation and overshoot poses, which really leveled up our animation. These are the 6 concepts so far, but we need one more, which is probably one of the most important ones, which is arcs. If we look at this anime version of the Vitruvian Man, we can say that our arms and legs move along an arc instead of a straight line. And most movements in nature move along a more curve rather than a straight line. So to further illustrate this concept, we can simply curve our guidelines from our earlier animation, and if we imagine our character now with arms and legs swinging on a rope, we have something that looks like this. Pretty cool, but if we add squash and stretch to this character, we can even make the animation look cooler. Now the reason why we might not need an anticipation or overshoot pose here is due to it being a looping animation. Hopefully these 7 concepts I've discussed can help you start your animation journey or even level up your current existing animations. You don't have to use all of these concepts to make your animation look better, cause each animation is different depending on what you are creating or animating. Now if you want to support my videos and channel, I posted a file that contains all of this information that you can check down in the description below for a small donation fee of $1. You don't have to buy it though, just having you watch my videos and getting up to this point of the video really means a lot to me. So thank you so much for watching, and you can check out these other videos for more animation tutorials.